Imagine a historical figure whose words, nearly 14 centuries later, still echo with such profound insight. Insights that cut across different faiths, different academic fields.
Yeah, it's quite remarkable. We're talking about a collection of speeches, letters, sayings, so powerful it's literally been called the peak of eloquence.
Exactly. And today, we're embarking on a deep dive into that very work, Nahjul Balagha. It's a revered compilation attributed to Imam Ali ibn Abu Talib, the fourth caliph of Islam, a truly central figure.
Our source material for this discussion is drawn directly from rich excerpts of the text itself. It gives you, our listener, a real gateway into its multifaceted wisdom. It's a genuinely significant work.
So our mission today is really to unpack all of that. The theological depth, the moral teachings that feel so timeless, the political philosophy, the historical stories woven throughout Nahjul Balagha.
We want to reveal its enduring legacy, but also its surprising relevance for, the world we live in right now.
It really does offer a kind of shortcut to being well-informed on these deep topics. It's full of these nuggets of knowledge, surprising facts about a work that still inspires millions.
And of course, given its nature, we approach this sacred text with the reverence and careful consideration it absolutely deserves. It provides immense spiritual and intellectual guidance.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. What exactly is Nahjul Balagha? Its form, its content? What makes it such a monumental piece of work?
Well, the title itself, Nahjul Balagha, translates from Arabic as the peak of eloquence. That tells you a lot right there.
It sets a high bar.
It absolutely does. It was compiled, put together by Sayyid al-Radi. This was back in the early 5th Hijri century, so roughly the 11th century AD. And the title, as you said, it's a direct testament to the profound literary merit, the sheer power of the language inside.
So it's not just the ideas, but how they're expressed.
Precisely. At its heart, Nahjul Balagha is a collection. You've got Imam Ali's public addresses, sermons, or khutbahs, as they're known. Then there are his letters, many written to governors and other officials. And finally, these concise, potent aphorisms, short sayings packing a real punch.
And what makes it stand out? Our sources really emphasize its unique qualities.
They do. Two things mainly. First, its exceptional literary beauty and elegance. It captures the effect of Ali's oratory, which was renowned for being incredibly moving, persuasive, just intellectually powerful.
I can imagine.
And second, beyond the style, is the multidimensionality of his discourses. His words weren't just about one thing. They cover this huge range: theology, metaphysics, ethics, governance, history.
Wow, quite a scope.
It really is. And that wide scope distinguishes it from many other compilations. It makes it a truly comprehensive guide in many ways.
Now, putting together something like this centuries later, that must have presented some challenges, right?
Oh, definitely. And Sayyid al-Radi's approach is interesting. His primary focus, it seems, was on the literary prominence of the material, the eloquence, the rhetoric.
More so than, say, putting everything in strict date order.
Exactly. So as you read through it, you might find sermons about later events, like the battles of Siffin or Naharawan, appearing quite early in the book. And conversely, some early Medina sermons might pop up much later.
Okay, that's important context for a reader.
It is. And this choice, prioritizing literary value, actually tells us something important about Sayyid al-Radi's integrity as a compiler.
How so?
Well, our sources point out that the very fact he copied the work as he found it, including these repetitions or chronological, let's say, inconsistencies, it shows his sincere desire to present the material without his own interference.
Ah, so he wasn't trying to clean it up or force his own structure onto it?
Precisely. It shows a real commitment to the source material he had access to, aiming for authenticity.
And the sheer amount of material. It's staggering. I read that one historian, Masudi, mentioned over 480 of Imam Ali's sermons were preserved.
Yes, over 480. And that's not just a few sayings here and there. It was this vast body of spontaneous orations that people felt compelled to write down, to preserve, to transmit.
It really shows the value people placed on his words, even back then.
Absolutely. It demonstrates the huge impact his eloquence and wisdom had on his contemporaries and obviously on the generations that followed.
So given this incredible eloquence and volume, it's maybe not surprising that Nahjul Balagha receives such wide acclaim, even beyond the Islamic world.
Universal acclaim, really. And our sources highlight something unique. After the Holy Prophet himself, Imam Ali is the only figure whose speeches and sayings were so meticulously recorded and preserved by people.
That level of dedication is exceptional.
It really is, and the testimonies to its literary excellence are powerful. Take Abdul Hamid al-Khatib, a master of Arabic prose from the early 2nd Hijri century.
What does he say?
He said he memorized 70 sermons of Ali, and after that, his mind just overflowed with inspiration. Apparently, when someone asked him what helped him become such a great writer, he replied, memorizing the discourses of the bald one, a reference to Imam Ali.
Wow. So Ali's words weren't just religiously significant, they actually set a literary standard.
Exactly, a standard that influenced Arabic prose for centuries. His words became almost like a foundational text for writers and speakers, regardless of their own beliefs.
And it wasn't just Muslim scholars recognizing this.
Not at all. That's what's so striking. You have figures like George Jurdak and Michael Naima, both respected Lebanese Christian writers.
Then what was their take?
Jurdak's assessment is powerful. He called Ali a champion on the battlefield, but also a hero in all other fields. And then he lists these qualities: sincerity of heart, purity of conscience, spellbinding magic of speech, true humanitarianism.
That's quite a list.
Fineness and warmth of faith, height of tranquility, readiness to help the oppressed and the wronged, and total submission to the truth. Naima's endorsement echoes this cross-cultural appreciation. They saw something universally virtuous in him.
So for these non-Muslim scholars, his eloquence and character transcended religious lines.
Absolutely. It positioned his words in a unique category, almost unparalleled for a figure of that era. Then you have Abdul Wahab Hamouda, an Egyptian professor.
Yes.
He said, Nahjul Balagha contains all that great scholars, professors of ethics, philosophers, scientists, authorities on religions, and politicians can say or write. He chalked it up to Ali's supermind.
High praise indeed.
And Abdul Masih al-Antaki, a Christian editor, went even further. He called Ali the imam of speakers and orators, the teacher and leader of writers and philosophers. He said Ali's sayings were superior to that of any man and inferior only to the sayings of Allah the Almighty.
That's placing it incredibly high, almost as foundational wisdom.
It is. It suggests it's a source of universal insight, not just specific religious doctrine.
And beyond the oratory, our sources mention his versatility. There's that interesting quote from Al-Jahiz.
Ah, yes, where Ali is quoted as saying, we, all albeit, are superior to others in 5 qualities: eloquence, good looks, forgiveness, courage, and popularity with women.
It certainly gives a fuller picture of the man beyond just the profound scholar. It challenges the image of maybe a purely austere figure.
Exactly. It offers a glimpse into his broader persona, the cultural context. He was seen as charismatic, well-rounded.
So all these diverse testimonies across centuries, different backgrounds, they really cement Nahjul Balagha's status as a timeless classic, don't they?
Without a doubt. It's been studied, admired, drawn upon for over 1,000 years. For you, the listener, the key takeaway here is that this isn't just some historical artifact.
Right. It's a living work.
A living work of literary and intellectual genius. Its appeal goes beyond specific faiths, offering profound insights into being human, into communication itself.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. From the literary brilliance to the theological depths. Nahjul Balagha goes deep into metaphysics, especially the concepts of Tawhid, the absolute oneness of Allah.
Yes, and it's not just a simple statement of God is one. It's a really deep philosophical exploration. The text emphasizes divine transcendence tanzi.
Meaning, God is beyond our limited understanding and comparisons.
Precisely. Beyond all created limitations. Ali explains it in ways that really stretch the mind. For instance, he is with everything, but not in the sense of physical nearness. Or, he is different from everything, but not in the sense of separation.
That's quite abstract. How does he elaborate?
He clarifies further in another sermon. He is not inside things in the sense of physical pervasion or penetration, and is not outside them in the sense of physical exclusion, because exclusion itself implies a kind of limit, a boundary.
I see. So Allah transcends space and physical properties entirely.
Exactly. He is above every kind of condition, state, similarity, and likeness. You can't describe him using the physical attributes that apply to creation.
This idea of transcendence is really central, isn't it?
It is. And linked to this is how the text explains Allah's attributes being all-knowing, omniscient, all-powerful, omnipotent, hearer, seer.
How are they explained?
Crucially, they aren't seen as separate qualities added to his being. They are inherent within his being. They are his essence.
So it's not like he learns or acquires knowledge.
No. If he's called omniscient, it's because the signs of his knowledge are eternally manifest everywhere. It's not an acquired skill. It's fundamental to his nature. The same goes for power, hearing, seeing.
What's the significance of that distinction? Why is it important that the attributes are inherent, not separate?
That's a vital point. It safeguards the concept of absolute divine unity and perfection. If attributes were separate or acquired, it would imply complexity, maybe even dependency, or a past state of not having that attribute.
Which would contradict his perfection.
Exactly. By stating his attributes are inherent, one with his essence, it affirms Allah as the absolute, unified, unparalleled source of all perfection. His knowledge is him. His power is him. It ensures his absolute uniqueness.
Nahjul Balagha also tackles some pretty complex rational problems, doesn't it? Things mere observation might not answer.
Yes, like the necessity of existence itself, why there's something rather than nothing, and the uncreated nature of the ultimate power. These are deep philosophical questions.
And it uses rational arguments like the one from the Quran.
Indeed. It introduces what's called the exclusive syllogism, Burhan al-Tamanu. It's a logical proof for unity found in the Quran.
Wait, first is that?
Quran 21.22. If there had been multiple gods in them, i.e. in the earth and heavens, other than Allah, they would surely go to ruin.
Could you break that down for us? How does that logic work, simply put?
Think about it like this. Imagine trying to run a complex project, say, building a universe, with multiple CEOs who all have ultimate authority and different plans. What happens?
Chaos, conflict, things fall apart.
Exactly. The argument is that the incredible order, the intricate balance, the sheer harmony we see in the universe is itself logical proof that there can only be one ultimate creator and sustainer with a single unified will. Multiple independent wills would inevitably clash, leading to ruin, as the Quran says.
So the coherence of existence points to a single source. That's powerful.
It's a rational path to understanding divine unity, complementing the theological one.
It's fascinating how this rational philosophical approach is so deeply embedded. I know some thinkers, like Ahmed Amin, noted that philosophy seemed more akin to Shi'ism.
Yes, there's historically been a strong connection. Figures like Sayyid Jamal al-Din al-Sadabadi also fostered philosophical movements. And Nahjul Balagha delves into really advanced concepts.
Like what?
Like the true unity, al-wada al-haqqa, of the necessary being, wajib al-wujud. It's described as a non-numerical unity.
Non-numerical unity, what does that mean practically? It sounds like more than just saying one God.
It is. It means Allah's oneness isn't like the number one in a sequence 1, 2, 3. It's oneness in the sense of absolute, unparalleled uniqueness and simplicity. He isn't made of parts. He has no peers.
So he's indivisible, incomparable.
Exactly. His existence is his unity. The text even says the proof of the existence of the necessary being is identical with the proof of his unity. You can't separate them because his very existence is intrinsically singular and unique. It's a profound concept.
Moving from God's nature to creation. Nahjul Balagha paints a really vivid picture of Adam's creation, doesn't it?
Oh, it's exquisite, full of symbolic detail. It describes Allah collecting clay from different kinds of earth, hard, soft, sweet, sour.
Representing the diversity within humanity, perhaps.
Possibly. Then kneading the clay, carving an image with curves, joints, limbs, and segments. But the crucial part comes next.
Which is?
Allah then blew into it out of his spirit. This act, as one sermon explains, gave humanity more than just a physical form. It gave us a mind, intelligence, senses, and crucially, the capacity to tell truth from falsehood.
So we're a mix of the earthly and the spiritual.
Exactly. The insight is that our very being contains both these earthly elements, these different clays, and this divine spark. It gives us incredible potential, but also profound responsibility.
And this creation wasn't random, according to the text?
No, definitely not. Nahjul Balagha articulates the Islamic view clearly. Neither has the world been created without a purpose, nor has man strayed into it aimlessly.
That's a very different outlook from philosophies that see life as an accident or punishment.
Very different. It posits a purposeful creation, a meaningful journey for humanity.
So if we have a purpose, how are we supposed to understand it? How are we guided?
That's key. The text stresses that Allah never left humanity adrift. He never left creation without a prophet deputed by him, or a book sent down from him, or a binding argument, or a standing plea.
A continuous chain of guidance.
Yes, a constant connection. With Muhammad being the final prophet sent to lead people out of error and ignorance. It shows a divine commitment to helping us find and follow the path.
But the text also acknowledges the human struggle, right? The journey isn't always smooth.
Not at all. It paints a realistic picture of the human life cycle. From the womb through youth, but then often succumbing to self-conceit, getting lost, perplexed by worldly distractions and desires.
And the end.
Often, as one sermon describes it, it culminates in a fatal illness, the pangs of death, and the realization that obligations weren't met, rewards weren't earned. It's a powerful cautionary tale.
A reminder of our potential, but also our vulnerability to going astray.
Precisely. It frames the human condition within this larger metaphysical picture created with purpose, guided by prophets, but constantly facing choices and temptations.
Okay, let's shift focus now to the moral and spiritual teachings,
Mm.
which you said make up a huge part of Nahjul Balagha.
Yes, nearly half the book. And these teachings have been a matchless source of inspiration, especially in Arabic and Persian, for over 1,000 years. They really get to the heart of human conduct.
A central concept is taqwa, often translated as piety or God consciousness.
Yeah.
How does Nahjul Balagha explain it?
It goes beyond just restraint from bad deeds. It's described as a sublime spiritual faculty. Think of it as an inner strength, an internal compass.
A compass guiding you towards good and away from bad.
Exactly. It enables an attraction towards edifying spiritual values and repulsion towards degrading materialistic vices. Ultimately, as one sermon puts it, it makes man the master of his own self.
So it's about empowerment, not just restriction.
Very much so. True taqwa reforms the heart, nurtures the spirit, and it grows stronger with worship and devotion, leading to greater self-awareness and inner peace.
Another key concept, maybe more misunderstood today, is zuhd, or renunciation.
Yes, and it's vital to get this right. First off, Islam is fundamentally against monasticism. The Prophet clearly said there is no monasticism or banya in Islam. He didn't approve of companions withdrawing completely from society.
So Islam is a religion for life, for society.
Absolutely. So zuhd isn't about becoming a hermit or embracing poverty just for the sake of it.
Then what is it? Especially for us living in, a very materialistic, achievement-focused world. What's the surprising insight?
That's the crucial question. The insight from Ali's life and words is that zuhd isn't about less life, it's about more focused life. It's a spiritual state of indifference towards material things, not because they're inherently evil, but for the sake of higher, supermaterial objectives and ideals.
Okay, so how does that look practically?
It manifests as simplicity, contentment, not being driven by hedonistic urges or a love of luxury. But it's not self-deprivation for its own sake. It's about preventing worldly attachments from blocking your spiritual growth, your soul's potential.
So it's a kind of freedom.
Yes, freedom from the tyranny of things, from constant wanting. And crucially, this detachment doesn't lead to apathy. In Ali's example, it actually fueled greater social responsibility because his actions weren't tainted by personal gain. That's the radical part.
And Imam Ali's own life exemplified this balance. Detachment, yet deep responsibility.
Perfectly. You have quotes like, "What has Ali to do with perishable niceties and short-lived pleasures?" Showing that detachment. But then you have him spending sleepless nights worrying, "Shall I stuff my belly?" While in Hijaz and Yamama, there may be people who have no hope of getting a loaf of bread.
Wow. That contrast is powerful.
It shows a zuhd that drives compassion and action, not withdrawal. It's a model for ethical engagement with the world.
The philosopher Ibn Sina made a distinction here too, didn't he?
He did. He contrasted the unaware Zahid, who basically sees it as just trading this world for the next, with the aware Zahid.
And the aware one.
Practices zuhd out of a deep unwillingness to engage his inner self with anything other than Allah. They see everything else as ultimately unworthy of that deep attention and servitude. It elevates zuhd to a really high philosophical plane, focusing your ultimate concern.
This leads naturally into self-knowledge and remembering Allah. Right. There's that profound saying.
He who knows his own self knows his master. Yes, absolutely central. It suggests this deep intrinsic link between understanding yourself and understanding the divine.
How do we even start that journey? Knowing ourselves to know God.
Well, Ali's teachings suggest it's more than just head knowledge. It's an internal exploration. Understanding your spiritual nature, your purpose, your limits, your potential. All these things point back to the Creator.
But how do we perceive God, if not with our eyes? Ali was asked that, wasn't he?
He was, and his answer was brilliant. Would I worship what I have not seen? Then he clarified, he is not visible to the eyes, but the hearts perceive him through the factual experience of faith, iman.
So perception of the heart through faith experience.
Exactly. It's a knowledge that goes beyond the five senses, rooted in inner conviction, spiritual insight.
And the text warns about the opposite, forgetting God leading to forgetting oneself.
Yes, that's a critical insight from the Quran, reflected in Nahjul Balagha. Be not as those who forgot Allah, so he caused them to forget their own selves, souls. Quran 59.19. Forgetting God ultimately means losing touch with who you truly are at your core.
That's a sobering thought.
It really is. It explains why people often mistake the superficial, their bodies, possessions, status for their true selves. They invest everything in the material, neglecting the spiritual core.
Like that Rumi analogy you mentioned, building a house on someone else's land.
Exactly. Pouring all your energy into something temporary and ultimately not yours, only realizing the mistake too late. It highlights the danger of misidentifying our true essence. Chasing only external things can leave us feeling empty, disconnected.
Finally, in this section, how does Nahjul Balagha handle the world versus the hereafter? Sometimes they seem opposed.
That's a common tension. But Nahjul Balagha argues that reconciliation is not only possible, it's a necessity of the Islamic creed. The key condition. The hereafter must remain the ultimate ends and goals.
So, engage with the world, but keep your ultimate destination in sight.
Precisely. The world is described as transient. Sermon 45 says, "This world is a place for which destruction is ordained. It is sweet and green, alluring, but temporary."
Like a beautiful but temporary stopping place.
Yes. So the advice is to depart from here with the best of provision, good deeds, spiritual growth, and not demand more than basic needs from the world itself.
And death is presented very directly.
Very directly, by Allah. Certainly it is reality, not fun, truth, not falsehood. It is none else than death. Its caller is making himself heard.
Why such stark reminders? Is it about fear?
Not paralyzing fear, it's about motivation. Motivation to live consciously, to prepare. But here's the surprising insight. Even with death's certainty, life is incredibly precious.
How so?
Another sermon says we get tired of everything except life because death holds no pleasure. Life is described as vision for the blind heart, hearing for the deaf ear, quenching thirst. It's the arena for action.
So value this life as the opportunity it is.
Exactly. Value every moment as a chance to cultivate something meaningful for the journey ahead.
Okay, let's pivot to justice, governance, social responsibility. Huge themes in Nahjul Balagha. How important are these considered?
Immensely important. Not just ethical ideals, but tied directly to divine command. Leadership and justice are seen as foundational for a God-conscious society.
You mentioned Quran 5.67 earlier about the prophet conveying the message of Ali's succession.
Yes, and the verse implies that failing to deliver that specific message would be like failing to deliver the entire message. That's how significant leadership succession was seen.
And the text establishes a core principle about rights between rulers and the ruled.
Absolutely, a foundational idea. The most important of the reciprocal rights is the right of the ruler over the subjects and the rights of the subjects over the ruler. It's mutual.
A two-way street.
Definitely. This mutual obligation is the basis of the strength of their society and of their religion. It says, the subjects cannot prosper unless the rulers are righteous. The rulers cannot be righteous unless the subjects are firm and steadfast.
A real symbiotic relationship. The health of one depends on the other.
Precisely. It emphasizes shared responsibility for a just and stable society.
And Imam Ali didn't just theorize. Letter 53 to his governor in Egypt, Malik al-Ashtar, is famous, isn't it, as a kind of blueprint for good governance.
It really is. Abdul Masih al-Antaki, the Christian scholar we mentioned, praised it incredibly highly. He called it by far a superior and better code than the ones handed down by Moses and Hammurabi.
That's an astonishing claim. What vision does it lay out? Al-Antaki said, Islam aims for a godly administration of the people, by the people, and for the people.
That captures it well. The letter includes incredibly practical directives. Prioritize the subject's happiness over your own pleasure. Avoid anger and vengeance in ruling. Prevent favoritism and nepotism, warning they lead to tyranny.
Sound advice for any era, really.
Absolutely. Be careful choosing officials. Avoid those who served oppressors. Prefer honest and kind persons who will speak out the bitter truth to you unreservedly.
Encouraging honest criticism. That's quite radical for a ruler.
It is. Deal humbly and leniently with the public. Ensure equal treatment for all, so the powerful don't expect special favors and the weak don't despair of justice. And be transparent if people suspect wrongdoing. Explain yourself publicly.
It's a stunning vision of ethical, accountable leadership focused on service.
Truly, rooted in serving the people, not consolidating personal power.
Within this, justice itself is elevated. Ali argues it's even superior to generosity. That seems counterintuitive. Why?
It's a deep point. He says, justice is the general caretaker, whereas generosity is a particular reliever. Justice is like a public highway. It serves everyone, sets the rules for all, ensures fundamental rights across the board.
Well, generosity is more specific.
Yeah.
targeted.
Exactly. Generosity is wonderful, but it's limited, directed at individuals. It can't be the basis of a stable society. If everyone was just generous without underlying rules, society would break down. So justice, as the universal foundation, is nobler, possesses the greater merit.
That's a really insightful distinction. Foundation versus individual acts. Now, how did Ali's view contrast with other ideas about rulers and responsibility? The source mentions philosophies where responsibility to God negates responsibility to people.
Right. Philosophies where basically if a ruler answers to God, they don't really need to worry about being just or oppressive towards their subjects. Their actions are justified simply by their position.
Like a divine right making them unaccountable to humans.
Something like that. Ali's view is the complete opposite. For him, belief in Allah is the foundation of justice and human rights. It's because there's a higher accountability that rulers must uphold justice and respect innate rights.
So faith doesn't excuse rulers, it mandates their justice.
Exactly. Faith becomes the ultimate check on power, the ultimate guarantee that rights will be respected because the ruler knows they answer to God for how they treat people. It's a profound link.
And Ali put this into practice, especially economically, didn't he? Facing pushback for equal distribution.
He did. When he became caliph, he insisted on equal distribution of wealth from the public treasury. This upset the elite. He treated former slaves and non-Arabs equally, stopped special privileges for the nobility.
How did he justify this politically risky move?
His response was principled. This is public wealth. It comes from the masses. It must go back to them. He refused to let the rich exploit society. And his reason for helping the needy wasn't about what they could offer in return.
What was it?
He said he helped them because they cannot help themselves and they are as much human beings as you and I. It was about inherent human dignity and equity, completely challenging the social hierarchies, a radical stance on economic justice.
Beyond governance, Nahjul Balagha gives guidance for personal ethics too, right? Everyday interactions.
Absolutely. A very practical guy. You see the golden rule beautifully expressed in his advice to his son, Imam Hassan.
What was the advice?
Let yourself act as scales. Do unto others as you wish others to do unto you. Whatever you dislike to happen to you, spare others from such happenings. It's about empathy as a practical ethical tool. And he championed freedom and dignity.
Strongly. Do not make yourself a slave of anything. Allah has created you a free man. Do not sell away this freedom. He stressed that selling your honor or conscience brings no real value. It's a call for inner freedom, integrity.
Even towards adversaries, the standard is high.
Incredibly high. Do good to your brother when he is bent upon doing harm. Befriend him when he ignores you. Be generous if he is miserly. Be kind if he is harsh. It's about breaking negative cycles with proactive good.
And a clear warning against oppressing the weak.
To oppress a weak or helpless person is the worst form of tyranny. Absolutely unambiguous.
What about the nuance in ethics, like the rules around backbiting, Giba? It's not just a simple don't do it.
Right. It shows practical wisdom. Generally, revealing faults is forbidden, but there are specific limited exceptions.
Yes.
If it's necessary to save a Muslim brother from harm, warning someone who's being cheated, for example, or if you're relating the fault to someone who can actually stop the person from committing it, like seeking help from a judge or scholar. So if the intention is protective or corrective.
Yes. And interestingly, even describing a known physical trait, calling a deaf person deaf, is permissible if it's just descriptive, done without any malice or intent to mock.
It shows a balance between protecting reputation and addressing real harm or seeking necessary help. It's discerning.
Exactly. It reflects the practical, balanced wisdom embedded throughout these teachings.
Okay, let's turn to the historical context woven through Nahjul Balagha. It gives insights into major events and Imam Ali's own role and steadfastness, particularly around the succession issue.
Yes, it does. And sources highlight Ali's unique standing. Ibn Abbas mentioned 4 qualities setting him apart.
What were they again?
First, to pray with the Prophet, always carried the battle banner, stayed firm when others fled, and performed the Prophet's final rites. It paints a picture of profound loyalty and courage from the very beginning.
His bravery in battle is legendary. Uhud, for example.
Uhud is a prime case. The Muslim army was in disarray, many fled. Ali stayed, defended the wounded Prophet against multiple attackers, got wounded himself 16 times, sources say, but got the Prophet to safety. Incredible devotion.
And Khaybar, too.
At Khaybar, a tough Jewish fortress, other commanders failed to take the key fort, Qammas. Ali succeeded, earning immense praise from the Prophet. It demonstrated not just courage, but perhaps divinely aided success. He was also instrumental in the conversion of a major Yemeni tribe, Banu Hamdan.
But the central historical issue revolves around succession,
Yeah.
right? And the event at Ghadir Qum.
Absolutely central. At Ghadir Qum, during the Prophet's farewell pilgrimage, he received the command linked to that Quran, verse 5.67 we discussed, to formally designate Ali
As his successor.
as Amirul Mu'minin, commander of the faithful. The Prophet's declaration was unambiguous. Ali is my brother, wasi, executor, and successor, the Imam after me. He is your master, Mawla, next only to Allah and his messenger. And famously, for whosoever I am the master, Mawla, Ali is his master, Mawla.
And this declaration is the foundation for the Shia view of imamat.
Yes. The Shia perspective is that leadership, imamat, is a divinely appointed position, not subject to human election. Ali was the first of 12 divinely designated imams.
But despite this clear declaration, history took a different turn immediately after the Prophet's death.
It did. The Saqifa incident happened while Ali and others were preparing the Prophet's body for burial. A group gathered and elected Abu Bakr as the first caliph.
How did Ali respond to being bypassed?
His response, as reflected in Nahjul Balagha, was strategic and principled. He protested peacefully but chose not to fight, prioritizing the unity and survival of the very new Muslim community over his personal right at that critical juncture.
A difficult choice, putting community stability first.
Immensely difficult. He feared open conflict would destroy Islam from within, benefiting hypocrites and enemies.
Later, during Uthman's caliphate, problems arose leading to rebellion. What was Ali's role then?
Sources show Ali tried to advise Othman against appointing unsuitable relatives and quell the growing unrest through reason. When Othman's house was besieged, Ali actually sent his own sons to defend him and tried to get water to the house.
Even defending someone whose policies he disagreed with.
Yes, showing commitment to preventing bloodshed and upholding the office even in disagreement.
Then came the Battle of Jamal, a civil war where prominent figures opposed Ali's own caliphate.
Yes, Aisha, Taha, and Zubair led an insurgency. But Ali's conduct after the battle is remarkable. He treated Aisha with respect, ensured her safe return. He forgave key opponents like Abdullah ibn al-Zubair and even Marwan, who later caused much harm.
That level of magnanimity in victory, especially civil war, is rare.
It highlights his character, his adherence to mercy, his desire for reconciliation even with bitter foes.
But the conflict didn't end there. Muawiyah, the governor of Syria, was a major antagonist.
Muawiyah was ambitious and used Othman's death as a pretext for rebellion against Ali. His tactics were ruthless. Sources detail the assassination of Ali's governor in Egypt, Muhammad ibn Abu Bakr, poisoned, then his body desecrated. Muawiyah used guerrilla warfare to destabilize Ali's rule.
How did Ali reflect on all this turmoil?
Nahjul Balagha shows his foresight and patience. He spoke of swallowing the bitterness of the initial succession issue like turbid water. He foresaw the destruction these power struggles would bring in Islam's name, yet he remained steadfast.
And his view on death, that famous quote.
I am so familiar with death that even an infant is not so familiar with the breast of its mother. It suggests not morbidity, but a deep spiritual readiness and acceptance that allowed him to face constant adversity.
And this period culminates tragically with his martyrdom.
Yes, in 40 AH, assassinated while leading prayers in the Kufa Mosque by Ibn Muljim using a poisoned sword.
His final moment.
Even then, his character shone through. Gratitude to God and forgiveness, instructing his sons on just retribution for the killer, warning against excessive revenge, mercy even at the very end.
Beyond the historical events, Nahjul Balagha also hints at Ali having exceptional knowledge, maybe even foreknowledge.
It does. There's that statement from the Prophet himself. "Oh, Ali, you see all that I see and hear all that I hear, except that you are not a prophet." It confirms a unique spiritual insight, a proximity to prophetic understanding.
And accounts of miraculous signs.
Yes, like the story of the tree moving towards the Prophet as a sign for the Quraysh. These reinforce the divine support surrounding the Prophet and Ali's closeness to those events.
Ali himself made bold claims about his knowledge, didn't he?
Very bold. Ask me whatever you like, because I know the paths of the divine destiny more than the passages of the earth. Some interpret this as knowledge from the preserved tablet. It's presented as divinely bestowed insight, not him claiming divinity itself.
And the text contains warnings about future times.
Yes. Prophecies about periods of turmoil, when Islam will be capsized as a pot, distorted, when only the quiet, inactive believer might be safe, when wickedness increases.
That's the purpose of these predictions, to scare people.
Not primarily fear, it seems, more like guidance, preparing believers for turbulent times, helping them discern truth from falsehood, maintain integrity when things get chaotic, a roadmap for spiritual resilience.
Okay, let's bring it back to practical wisdom for daily life. Nahjul Balagha is full of enduring principles for believers, isn't it?
Absolutely. Foundational guidelines. Prayer, for instance, is heavily emphasized.
Oh, so.
Ali advises, pledge to uphold prayers and to remain steady on it. He cites that stark Quranic verse about people in hell admitting, we were not of those who offered regular prayers.
And the analogy used.
Comparing prayer's cleansing effect to leaves falling from trees or bathing in a river 5 times a day, it shows prayer not just as ritual, but as constant spiritual purification.
Gratitude is another key virtue highlighted.
Yes, and elevated to an obligation. Even if Allah had not warned of chastisement, it was obligatory by way of gratefulness that he should not be disobeyed.
So gratitude itself demands obedience, regardless of reward or punishment.
Exactly. Simple appreciation for blessings creates a moral imperative not to transgress. It deepens the relationship with the divine.
Humility is also stressed, countering vanity.
Very strongly. Ali asks that piercing question, what is a man to do with vanity? His origin is semen, his end is a carcass, a stark reminder of our humble origins and end to counter ego.
What about knowledge, learning and teaching?
There's a beautiful reciprocal duty outlined. Allah has not made it obligatory on the ignorant to learn till he has made it obligatory on the learned to teach.
So knowledge comes with a responsibility to share it.
Yes, it emphasizes the social dimension. Learning isn't just for personal gain, it includes the duty to uplift others through teaching.
Patience in hardship is another recurring theme.
Definitely. Ali's condolence to someone who lost a son is profound. If you endure, then Allah provides recompense. He notes that events happen as ordained, but endurance brings reward, while impatience adds burden.
Seeing adversity as a test, an opportunity for growth if met with patience.
Precisely. And linked to this are contentment and trust.
How are they presented?
The biggest wealth is that one should not have an eye on what others possess, a powerful antidote to envy and consumerism, and reassurance about sustenance. Livelihood is of 2 kinds, the livelihood which you seek and the livelihood which seeks you.
Meaning, don't stress excessively, trust in God's plan.
Yes, rely on providence rather than being consumed by anxiety about material provision. It fosters inner peace.
And throughout all this practical advice, Nahjul Balagha points back to 2 main sources of guidance.
Always. The Holy Quran and the Sunnah, the Prophet Muhammad's practice and teachings, these are the ultimate guiding lights.
The Sunnah is described how?
As the most distinguished course, the most right of all behaviors. It's the practical example, showing how to live the Quranic principles.
And the Quran itself.
As a spring of wisdom, the fairest of discourses, the best blossoming of hearts, a cure for hearts, we're encouraged to seek cure with its light. It emphasizes deep engagement with the Quran for spiritual healing and enlightenment.
There's also a strong warning against bid'ah, or innovation in religion.
Yes, a very clear call. Ali stresses discerning lawful from unlawful based on God's clear commands, not human inventions. People's innovation cannot make lawful for you what has been declared as unlawful.
Why is this so important?
It's crucial for preserving the integrity of the faith, ensuring adherence to authentic sources, preventing distortions over time.
And this requires discernment from the believer.
Yes. The text notes that he whom Allah does not allow to benefit from trials cannot benefit from preaching. There needs to be an inner readiness. And it distinguishes followers of authentic religious law, Shara, from followers of baseless innovations.
So it encourages critical thinking within the framework of authentic sources.
Exactly. A call for informed, rigorous adherence to the true spirit of the teachings.
Well, we've covered a vast amount of ground today, journeying through the profound depths of Nahjul Balagha. Its literary brilliance, its theology, morals, politics, history, the enduring legacy of Imam Ali.
It's truly a remarkable text. And for you, our listener, we hope this deep dive has offered more than just information, perhaps some transformative insights.
Yeah, it's a powerful example of how ancient wisdom can provide such a startlingly relevant guidance for our complex modern lives, from leadership and justice right down to personal piety and knowing ourselves.
To leave you with a final thought to reflect on, consider this piece of wisdom from Nahjul Balagha. The bitterness of disappointment is better than seeking a handout from people. Manual labor with chastity is better than the riches of a vicious life.
That really makes you think. What does that mean for our own pursuit of independence, integrity, in a world often focused on easy gains and external approval? How does that challenge our modern ideas of success?
It's definitely food for thought. And remember, this deep dive is really just scratching the surface of the vast ocean of wisdom in Nahjul Balagha.
Absolutely. We truly encourage you to seek out this incredible work, engage with its teachings directly, and allow its profound insights to illuminate your own path further.